Welcome to Simply Interesting. Today, we are looking at brake pads and at a strange design choice hiding behind every wheel. A new brake pad looks solid and permanent. A worn one looks thinner, dustier, and less complete. That missing material is not an accident. It is the clue. Every time a car slows down, something physical has to give. The car has weight. The wheels have speed. The road keeps moving under the tires. Press the pedal, and that motion has to be turned into heat before the vehicle can stop. That is where brake pads become interesting. They are not meant to stay exactly as they were. They are designed to lose material, little by little, every time they do their job. So today, we are answering a simple question. Why are brake pads designed to disappear? That is also why the warning signs are so ordinary. A squeal, a grinding sound, a dusty wheel, or a longer stop can all point back to the same hidden process. The part has been doing useful work by becoming less of itself. To understand brake pads, it helps to start with disc brakes, because they are the system most people see on modern cars. A disc brake has a metal rotor attached to the wheel. When the wheel turns, the rotor turns with it. When you press the brake pedal, hydraulic pressure pushes a caliper closed around that rotor. Inside the caliper are the brake pads. They squeeze the spinning disc from both sides, and that contact creates friction. The friction slows the rotor slows the wheel, and the wheel slows the car. That sounds simple, but the important detail is where the friction happens. The rotor is expensive, heavy, and connected to the wheel hub. The pad is smaller, cheaper, and much easier to replace. The design deliberately puts most of the wear into the pad, because that is the part you can inspect and change without rebuilding the whole brake assembly. So the disappearing pad is not a surprise side effect. In a disc brake, it is the planned working surface. This is also why disc brakes are usually easier to service. The pads are accessible, the rotor is visible, and a mechanic can often see the remaining material quickly. In everyday driving, that visibility matters almost as much as the stopping power. Drum brakes tell the older version of the same story. Before disc brakes became common on the front wheels of passenger cars, drum brakes handled much of the stopping work. They are still used today, especially on rear wheels, small economy cars, and heavier vehicles where cost and durability matter. A drum brake works from the inside out. A round drum spins with the wheel. Inside that drum are curved brake shoes. When the driver presses the pedal, the shoes push outward against the inner wall of the drum. That pressure creates friction, and friction slows the wheel. The advantage is protection. The braking parts sit inside the drum, shielded from some water, dirt, and road debris. The drum can also be strong and relatively cheap to manufacture. That is why drum brakes survived even after disc brakes became the modern standard. But the enclosed design has a trade-off. Heat can get trapped inside. Inspection takes more work. The shoes are not as easy to see as pads beside an open rotor. Drum brakes show the same basic rule as disc brakes, but with a different layout. One surface has to press, one surface has to resist, and the sacrificial material has to wear in a controlled way. The history is not a clean replacement of old technology by new technology. It is a long sorting process. Disc brakes moved into the jobs where cooling and inspection mattered most. Drum brakes stayed in places where protection, simplicity, and cost still made sense. Now let us focus on the brake pad itself. A brake pad is not just a block of rough material. It is a carefully tuned friction surface bonded to a backing plate. Its job is to grip the rotor, survive heat, stay reasonably quiet, and wear at a predictable rate. That last part is the key. If the pad were too soft, it would disappear too quickly and cover the wheel in dust. If it were too hard, it might last longer, but it could chew into the rotor, make noise, or fail to bite properly when cold or wet. The useful answer sits between those extremes. When the pad touches the rotor, motion is converted into heat. The surfaces do not simply rub like sandpaper. Tiny high spots touch, shear, transfer material, and break away. Some of that material becomes brake dust. Some becomes a thin transfer layer on the rotor. Some heat moves through the pad, the caliper, and the disc, then out into the air. This is why pads are designed as consumables. They spend themselves so the rest of the system does not have to. The pad protects the rotor from taking all the punishment. It also gives mechanics a clear service item. Measure the remaining pad material, listen for a wear indicator, or inspect the edge near the caliper, and you can tell when the planned sacrifice is nearly finished. In other words, the brake pad disappears because the system needs a controlled place for damage to go. Manufacturers tune that friction material for the vehicle. A small commuter car, a heavy truck, and a performance car do not ask the pad to do exactly the same job. The recipe changes because the balance between bite, noise, dust, heat, and lifespan changes. Brake shoes are the drum brake version of that same idea. They look different from brake pads because they are curved to match the inside of the drum, but their purpose is familiar. They carry friction material, press against a moving metal surface, and gradually wear down. The difference is visibility. With disc brakes, the pad and rotor are easier to inspect through the wheel or after removing it. With drum brakes, the shoes are hidden inside the drum, so the wear is less obvious until the assembly is opened. That hidden layout can make drum brakes feel more mysterious, but the evidence is still there. The shoe lining gets thinner. Dust collects inside the drum. The contact surface becomes polished or marked. Springs, adjusters, and cylinders all exist to keep the shoes moving correctly as the material changes. This is the useful comparison. Brake pads and brake shoes are not random pieces that happen to wear out. They are replaceable friction surfaces. Whether they squeeze a disc or push against a drum, their job is to accept controlled wear so the vehicle can stop again and again. The biggest enemy of any friction brake is heat. Every stop turns movement into heat, and hard repeated braking can create more heat than the system can shed. That is when brake fade becomes a problem. Brake fade is the loss of braking performance after the brakes get too hot. The pedal may still be pressed, but the system does not slow the vehicle as strongly. The pad material can become less effective. Gases and dust can interfere with contact. The rotor or drum can become too hot to keep the same level of friction. This is one reason disc brakes became so popular. The rotor is exposed to moving air, so it can cool more easily. Vented rotors increase that cooling even more. Drum brakes, by contrast, hold their working surfaces inside an enclosed shell, which can make heat harder to release. But this does not mean drum brakes are useless, or that wear always means bad design. It means braking is a balance. You want enough friction to stop the vehicle, enough cooling to repeat the stop, and enough controlled wear that the cheapest replaceable surface takes the damage first. A brake pad that wears predictably is not failing. It is doing the part of the job that heat and friction demand. Brake fade is also different from ordinary pad wear. A worn pad is a service condition that builds slowly. Fade can happen during a hard stop, a long descent, or repeated heavy braking. One is about remaining material. The other is about heat overwhelming the friction system. So why are brake pads designed to disappear? Because stopping a vehicle is not free. The energy has to go somewhere, and the wear has to land somewhere. The clever part is choosing where. A good brake system spins the pad instead of the rotor, the wheel, the hub, or the whole assembly. That makes the damage visible, affordable, and serviceable. The pad becomes the planned cost of keeping the larger machine safe. That is also why the question is not whether disc brakes or drum brakes are universally better. Disc brakes cool well and are easier to inspect. Drum brakes can be cheap, protected, and durable in the right place. Both depend on the same hidden bargain. A replaceable friction surface gives itself up so the rest of the system can keep working. The disappearing brake pad is not a defect. It is the design telling you exactly where the work has been done. So the next time brake dust appears on a wheel, it is worth reading it differently. It is not just dirt. It is the trace of speed being converted into heat, and of a small replaceable part protecting a much larger machine.